In line with the strategic objective of the organization, which is advocacy, it requires that we inform as many people as possible about the oceans economy. Now, part of it, what is required is to ensure that we know what is its size and what is its contribution to the GDP. Otherwise we'll be talking about things that are just thumbsuck. So it is important that we use some level of science to inform even the decision makers about the contribution of the oceans economy to the South African GDP.
So one of the really interesting projects that I'm involved in is that I work with the Global Oceans Accounts Partnership, who are based through the University of New South Wales in Australia, and I facilitate their Africa community of practice. And within that Africa community of practice, we're engaged with a number of African universities, creating fellowships, creating postdoctoral opportunities, etc., for capacity development. I think the critical component about ocean accounts is that it's a really new discipline. A lot of the times when I start talking to people about ocean accounts, they have no idea what I'm talking about because they've never heard of it before. So capacity enhancement, skills development, etc. are a critical component of this. And that's one of the central functions of a university in terms of skills enhancement, skills upliftment, etc. So it's a really important component from that. It's also a really important component from a research perspective, which is another area or another pillar of a university's function. So both in terms of skills development and capacity, and we see this across Africa, in Kenya, in Ghana, in Madagascar, in Mozambique, how we are utilizing university capacity to advance, really to advance an awareness, an interest, and through that an appetite for use of ocean accounts as a really critical ocean governance tool. Globally, across the world, I see countries turning towards their ocean space, their exclusive economic zones, in order to advance their ocean economy, and in doing so to boost economic growth by capitalizing on particular sectors that haven't been included up till then. The other important part about this is that there are increasing really technological advancements within the ocean space that allows us to drill deeper, fish further, really new ways of looking at tech that has resulted in massive increases in access. And associated with that, obviously, that increase in access is the increase in the way in which countries are turning towards the ocean space to foster economic growth, food security, other resource use security, employment opportunities, etc. So it's, I think, a critical aspect. And an addition to that is that associated with that increase in ocean economies, there's an increase in ocean impact, ocean pressures, etc. And the management of those pressures is critical. And importantly, I feel that ocean accounts underpin some of those management objectives. Without these sort of measures, let's put it this way, you can't manage what you can't measure. And without these measures, we're going to be a little bit stuck in terms of some of the trade-offs. Trade-offs are really dependent on valuation. So without the valuation, we're going to be stuck in terms of those trade-offs. So I would argue that I think a really important aspect of this is to have a clear boundary, a clear definition of what we mean by ocean economy. The problem or the challenge has been that so many people working in this space have created their own definitions of ocean economies and different sectors within an ocean economy, be they fisheries, be they mining, oil and gas, etc. The other thing is that the definition or the challenge with definitions goes to many people utilize the term blue economy, and blue economy has got a whole lot of different terms in the manners in which it's used, including aspects of sustainability, aspects of inclusivity, and the use of renewables as opposed to non-renewable resources within this space. So it's absolutely critical to have a clear definition of what we're working with, because that definition allows you to establish the boundaries, the scope of what you're doing. And if you don't have a clear scoping in this sort of analysis, you're going to achieve very different results, very different components. As an addition to that, if we look at what's done in the UK versus what's done in the USA, they use different production boundaries, they use different sectors. And this means that the metrics that they obtain from their analyses are slightly different. The US, for example, would include downstream fisheries aspects of fish processing, whereas the UK won't. And this means we're just measuring different things in different places, and then it becomes really difficult for comparative purposes.
I think the session today went very well. The topics that were presented today were on point, and considering where we come from with regards to this process of measuring oceans economy, there is a lot of progress that was made. The work that was presented today shows that indeed there is a lot of work that is being done in an attempt to measure how big the oceans economy is for the South African economy. So overall, I would say that it was a very useful session. We learned, and the wheel is turning. We already have definitions. We are not there yet, but at least in terms of the methods, the two definitions that were presented today shows that the work that we had started earlier on, there is movement. So all the speakers that presented today, they shared very critical information. So there is work that is being done, and thanks to Saimi for arranging this session, and we're looking forward to the next session sometime next year in 2024.
It's quite an important engagement. It brings different thoughts. I think everybody is learning, and it is important that we can share views in respect of how we measure the ocean's economy, its impact and its future. And I think it is a well-organized event, and as such it felt quite open-eyeing and very smooth engagement that we had today.
I think we had predetermined that there are three methodologies. One is the satellite account one, which we are working on making sure that we have got the available information to be able to populate it. Two, it is the gross value added methodology, and then it's the geographical location one. So those three methodologies we will use for different purposes to ensure that we build the case for how we measure the size of the oceans economy.
Well, what's standing out for me is that everybody is focused, is serious, is excited about the measuring of oceans economy, the impact, and then they're going deep into economies of municipalities and everything. I think it is a very eye-opening and a very good event. But just to say, the stakeholders for now are still the academia and the government stakeholders. I think when it's expanded more to the other general public stakeholders, it's got to be exciting because the questions will be different. And then, yes, it was exciting.
I think from the first session that we had engaged on, there have been some movement, because one, we needed to work on the definition of the oceans economy, which we have now offered, to the working group and the various stakeholders. So that's the first thing. Two was to say this is how the methodologies would work when they are applied properly. So we have a sense that at least from point A, we've been able to move, forward. So our commitment is to ensure that at the end we have got a product that would ensure that we do measure the size and the contribution of the oceans economy to the South African GDP.
Well, oceans economy, blue economy, circular economies, for now is still everybody's explanation, and then it's every country's preference. You can even give it 2-3 meanings or explanation. It's not going to change as long as the activity is the one demanding matter, that this is what we're going to call it. We call it oceans economy, but what will you do? And I think worldwide is still not certain as where does oceans economy start, where does blue economy start. And well, South Africa, I think, is the only nation that uses oceans economy. Everybody else is using blue. So it's open to individual definition, but yeah, quite exciting to keep trying to get to the correct statement about oceans economy or blue economy.
The purpose of today's session was to facilitate knowledge sharing as well as knowledge exchange, which is part of the SAIMI mandate, which is premised on 3 focus areas, namely advocacy, maritime education and training, as well as research and innovation. Today we saw a number of speakers that spoke about the definition of the oceans economy, its measurement, including the models that we're going to be using as SAIMI to measure the oceans economy's contribution to the economic growth of the South African economy. So these are mainly related to the development of a satellite account, the GDP model, as well as the GVA model. So the comments and feedback that were provided, which were very insightful and refreshing, will be collated into a report, which will be shared with the stakeholders that were in attendance today, as well as the members of the public, to ensure that we get additional views on how we should approach this space going forward. And the feedback as well will also assist us in actually beefing up the work that we are doing as SAIMI in terms of defining the economy as well as the oceans economy and its contribution to the GDP growth of South Africa. Thanks.